when I had the store, I always wanted to have a groomer, and I met Rose. She came in, and Noni was a friend of Rose's for I don't know how long, but she was at the store often. And then when Rose got her own store, Noni worked with her for a little while, and I was in and out of there all the time, just saying hi. And so I've known Noni for, 15 years, maybe. Quite a while.
Yeah.
Welcome to this episode of Dog Leads. I'm Steve Bishop, certified dog trainer, and I'm talking with Noni, who operates Noni's Custom Cuts. I know you were in and out of the store a couple of times just helping when they got backed up or big holidays and stuff like that.
In 2014, I actually tried to start Noni's Custom Cuts back then. And I was renting space from Rose, but too many people came in and recognized me and were like, "You work here?" "No, I don't work here." And they were like, "Can you groom my dog then?" But they'd be on her books, and I'm like, "Nope, you can make an appointment with me next time." Right. But so it became actually really difficult because so many people were recognizing me and wanting me to groom their dogs, and they were on her books. And I wasn't picking up the business as fast as I did whenever I started out of my house. So I kind of ended up working for her, and then just slowly became just working for her instead of doing the business. I've known Rose since 2005. 2008, I went to work for Rolling Hills Veterinary Hospital. I worked there for a couple of years. In 2010, PetSmart opened, and I wanted a place that had medical benefits. I moved up to Minnesota and back to Missouri, and then Jeff City, and back to Missouri or back to Columbia. 2012 at 13. And then in 2014, I moved back up to Columbia and went to work for Rose again. Okay. Craziness. Right. Rose told me, though, way back then, she's like, "You should have tried to get in with Steve at Mutt Puppies." Yeah. I have a great memory when it comes to dogs. A long period of time had gone on between grooming a dog that came in 6 months or more. And we didn't put notes in the computer. They set the dog in front of me, and they're like, they said to do what you did last time. And dog, I took a deep breath, and I was like, okay. And I did it. And my boss was absolutely speechless that I could remember what I did after all that time. And yet I can't remember what I did yesterday. Right. Actually, I know what I did yesterday. We went to Stark Caverns yesterday.
Right. Why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Noni. I started grooming in, it was like in the 90s. I had never known anybody who got their dogs groomed. My grandfather used to put his Cocker Spaniel up on the picnic table and shave it off a couple times a year. And so that was my only experience with dog grooming until I moved to Minnesota, and I happened into a pet food warehouse where they had a grooming room. And I was like, "What is this?" And they were like, "That's our grooming salon." And I was like, "What do they do?" And they were like, they explained it to me, and I was just like, "Oh, people get paid for this?" Right. What? And I ended up working there for a little while. And as things go when you're young, I quit for a little while, and then I went back. And one of the girls that I worked with they kept telling me I needed to become a dog groomer because they liked the way that I handled the animals, and I was really picky about getting the dogs clean. That place wasn't offering a way for me to learn to be a groomer that was compatible with my life at the time. So one of the girls that I worked with told me that she had been apprenticed at a PetSmart. So a couple of years later, I called a PetSmart and was like, "I want to be a dog groomer." And it happened that PetSmart that I called had just had their whole grooming staff walk out. And they had a new grooming manager, and she's like, "Sure, I'll teach you how to groom dogs." And she swears she didn't actually teach me anything. I was just everybody tells me I'm a natural when it comes to working with the animals and working with their coats. And I can I've been to lots of seminars and stuff like that, and they talk about being able to look at the dog and see the composition of the, the way that their lines are on the dog. And that's just something, I don't feel like I have to think about that. I see it. Mm-hmm. And so it was always, I mean, a lot of going to seminars and stuff like that, you pick up a lot of tricks and stuff like that help, but it was, those things just kind of helped along. Most of the people that I've worked with have always told me that I'm very patient and gentle with the dogs. I've worked in a lot of different places, and over the years, it's been 27 years that I've been grooming now, plus a couple of years as a bather. What I've learned is that there's something about the places that you can go and you can leave your dog there all day. That's great, but usually those places are so loud, and there's so much barking dogs and the dryers and everything else that it actually, and sometimes it causes the dogs to be more anxious. Mm-hmm. And I had a very short stint working for a mobile groomer just before the pandemic. I realized how great it was to get to work with the dogs just one-on-one, nobody else there. Right. So I decided I wanted to open my business out of my house. I was like, that'll be perfect. I can do the dogs, just me and that dog, from start to finish, no interruptions. And that way that dog gets my full attention, and I don't have to, I don't answer the phones when I'm working with the dog. That's just too much of a distraction. And there's too many places where, as a groomer, you're expected to have the dog on the table, keep the dog on the table, and answer the phone and take messages. And you can't do that if you're trying to concentrate on a dog. Yeah. And so it's one of those things that when I started the business, that was my business model, was I want to give that dog my full attention. Mm-hmm.
I saw something the other day that it was talking about small business. You have to know what your business, whatever it happens to be, grooming or training or art or whatever. But you also have to how to deal with the public and make appointments. And anymore, you have to
work with the computer.
Know how to work with the computer and record and edit. And if you want to use that to help your business and I've learned more about editing and stuff like that than I ever wanted to know, and it's like I just want to train dogs.
Yeah,
it's a lot to handle for sure.
Well, and there's so many different types of dog trainers too. I mean,
right. But I mean, it's just the business aspect of it, making appointments and going out and advertising, and I've got this the health fair coming up with Unchained Melodies in a couple weeks. All this stuff to get out there, and it's like I just want to do what I love, and
I haven't had too many problems with needing to advertise that much. When I did start my business, because I've been working in Columbia for so long, I have enough of a reputation as a really good groomer and enough of a clientele that when I left the last place that I worked for somebody else, I just wanted it to be calm and quiet, and I wanted to give the dogs a better experience. But when I left there, I made my Facebook page, and I know that's hardly anybody's on Facebook anymore, or at least they claim that, but I made a Facebook page.
It's definitely shifted to older people, yeah.
Luckily, a really good client of mine was just like, hey, everybody, Noni started her own business. This is where you can find her. So after that, I've been pretty steady. Right now I can't even take new clients. I'm booked until the middle of July.
Wow, that's nice.
And
so you get a lot of repeat.
Yes, I have a pretty strong clientele that are loyal to me. I'm not going to say they're all completely loyal to me, and you know what, everybody's different, and they're either going to like me or they're not. There's all kinds of different reasons why some people leave. Sometimes it's because we can't figure out what's going on with the dog, as far as there's a couple dogs where they'll have an itching problem. Can't figure out what it is. Trying different shampoos, and or one client that they showed me what kind of shampoo they were using at home, said that the dog came home itchy every time, but the shampoo they were using was just a the same shampoo I was using. The difference between the shampoo I was using and the shampoo they were using was the shampoo I was using was a specific brand that is for professional groomers that is made in America, and theirs was a knockoff that you get from China. And I couldn't understand why there was any kind of difference at all. And I haven't seen those people in a while, so I hope they found somebody to take care of their dog, and not have the itching problem.
Right.
You know, and it's one of those things where sometimes you never know. And dogs these days are getting more and more allergies, and they can come out of nowhere. Your dog will be fine, and then one day they're just itchy and hives everywhere.
Malcolm has allergies. We have to medicate him twice a day. He takes pills.
Yeah. And it sucks because people didn't think about that. Even when I first started grooming, people didn't really think about their dogs having allergies. And we come to find that a lot of the things that are coming out from their skin, allergy-wise, whether it's yeast in their feet or ears, actually is food allergies. That I'm not going to dog on vets, but it seems like they don't try to encourage people to have that kind of stuff checked. Like, let's exhaust all these other things before we check to see if your dog has an allergy to a food that you're feeding him. And sorry, I've been going down a lot of rabbit holes lately about dog food and cat food. I'm like, oh.
It's okay. You check out a previous episode where I talked to Jesse from Lizzie and Rocco's.
Yeah. I brought a couple tools here to kind of show. There's so many tools when it comes to dog. If a dog's got a really thick coat, dogs like doodles and stuff like that, you want a nice firm slicker brush. If you have a dog that has a really long coat, like an Afghan hound or a bearded collie, you want one of those push print brushes that you can do like almost like a wet brush would be. But this is the most important tool that anybody can have when it comes to their dog or their cat. It's a comb. Metal combs don't create as much static electricity, and that causes less breakage to the coat. So that's why we use metal combs. Also, they last longer than a plastic one. I used to joke that this is my magic wand, you know. Ta-ding. Your dog is now dematted. No, I do encourage people to brush their dogs in between, and if they aren't brushing or aren't able to brush their dog in between, then it's finding a length that their dog can live with, that they can live with. Those are all kinds of things that when it comes to dog grooming or just getting a dog in general, there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't think about, like coat maintenance and stuff like that, because every dog's different. I mean, even the shortest haired dogs have some sort of maintenance that they need. Hairless dogs, they have to be bathed and oiled. Sounds like weird, but they get like actual like pimples and stuff like that. If they're not properly taken care of. But you've got, you know, the silky haired dogs like the Yorkies and stuff like that. If they're not brushed on a regular basis, they can get mats. They get really greasy. That is a lot of times actually their body overproducing oils because their skin is dry. A lot of people don't realize that. That's actually something I learned when I was younger in skincare. If your face is really oily and you've got a lot of pimples, a lot of times it's because it was dry to begin with and your body's overcompensating. And that happens to dogs a lot. So those little Yorkies and stuff, when you start washing them too much, their skin gets dried out. They get overly greasy.
Right.
And then people try to do things to mitigate that grease, not realizing what they need to do is go back to the beginning and get something to moisturize their skin. But there's techniques that help with that.
Yeah, that was something. Talbot, the first dog, I talked to him about him on the show before, but this was back in the day when the only thing on the market was like Hearts and dish soap.
Yes.
Well, he had allergies, so I had to bathe him every week. I think it was the vet, fortunately, knew enough to tell me. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to use this stuff, you need to use a conditioner also, because those things are drying the skin out a lot.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, now there's so many things on the market that are formulated for a dog's skin and coats and stuff that it's a lot easier than it was back in the 80s, 90s when I had Talbot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much has changed in the grooming business too since I first started, and so many things that we learn about that's I want to go back to another grooming conference because it's part of continued education,
Right.
just keeping up with new things that people have learned and figured out. And when I first started grooming, it was common practice to pluck the ear hair out of dogs. Now, veterinarians are telling us that we should not pluck that hair out unless it comes easily.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you pull it, force it, it can cause fissures down in the ear canal that can get infected. Ear bacteria starts to grow and then they get in. So it was always a frustration because we always felt like vets were blaming us for causing ear infections. And most groomers are like, no, I discovered it. I didn't cause it, because pluck the ear hair out and there's gross stuff in there. And we're like,
Right.
Being that old school type of groomer where you're plucking all the hair out, whether, no matter how hard it is to get out, then there is a chance that we were causing ear infections, and it makes me very sad to think that. But that was something that it took years. It was 20 years into the business before they were like, yeah, we really shouldn't pluck ear hair. That should be something the vet does.
Right.
And some dogs, their hair is so thick and so just won't come out, won't pluck. And it can become very painful for them.
I'm sure.
A lot of vets used to be, oh, your groomer should be doing that. There's still a little bit back and forth. And I wish there was more communication between the grooming industry and veterinary industry. When I worked at Rolling Hills, I told them that. I was like, this is something we need to have a lot more conversations about how we can do better so that it's taking care of the dogs and knowing what's best to do for the dogs.
I've noticed just a lot of the, particularly in my group classes, we get a lot of the vet students from the university, and I think there's still some work that needs to be done, but most of them that I've talked to, they're really putting a lot of effort into having more, how do I want to say without being condescending, it's a more rounded education, more emphasis than there used to be on behavior and hygiene and things like that, whereas before it was just, you look at the ailment, fix that, and that's your job.
It was all just what was inside what's wrong with the dog.
But at the same time, like you're saying, I think there does need to be a lot more communication between like your vet and your trainer, your vet and your groomer. We're all working towards the same thing. So.
Yeah. And it's important for dogs and cats to have us all working together so that they get the best possible life. A lot of people, the vets will tell them to have their dogs shaved or something like that, and it's not necessarily the best thing for them. I do remember a time whenever I had a key sound. You know what kind of dog?
Sound?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Big double-coated dog. I mean, they're not super big. They're actually really small.
Right.
When you take the hair away, but they're still bigger than a Pomeranian.
Well, yeah.
I love those dogs.
A friend of mine had a couple of them when I was in, I guess it was in high school.
I had a lady who used to bring hers in every 6 weeks to have it shaved because the vet told her that it was allergic to its own fur. And I was like, are you sure? That doesn't sound right. But,
I've heard of it happening, that it's very rare.
Yeah.
But
I don't recommend double, when it comes to double-coated dogs, I don't recommend getting them shaved. Cutting their hair back so that it's easier for you to take care of might be something. But the more hair you take off of them, the length of their top coat, the less it grows back. We call it post-grooming alopecia.
Okay.
It's where a dog will be shaved so much that their hair won't come back. And they don't know exactly why this happens other than somehow it's damaging the hair follicle. I think that dogs are so adaptable that I'm not a veterinarian.
Right.
Disclaimer. My theory is that dogs are so adaptable that if you take away their coat enough times, it's not going to grow back. And because we see that sometimes, but a lot of times it's actually adrenal things. When it comes to like Cushing's and stuff like that, and their coat starts to thin. But for the double-coated dogs, if you take away their top coat, it gives them no way to protect their skin. If you cut their hair really, really short, it can actually, they've done studies. And I can't tell you where the studies are. I just know that they've done studies that show that if you take their hair away down to like less than a half an inch, I would even say I don't like to even take them that short. It raises their body temperature. They cannot regulate their temperature then the way they normally would. The most important things when it comes to double-coated dogs is making sure that that undercoat is brushed out on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. One of the leading veterinary dermatologists that likes to frequent the shows, the grooming conferences, mm-hmm. he talks about how the life of a dog's hair is 21 days. So every 21 days, a hair falls out and a new one grows in. Okay. So if you wanted to maximize your grooming efforts, if you go every 21 days, you're going to catch more of that undercoat before it fully comes in. Then you'll have less hair on the floor. But a lot of people with double-coated dogs wait until they're tufting out, and then they're really thick with mm-hmm. undercoat, and sometimes that can be difficult for them. Yeah. I advise every dog to be started as a puppy, like as soon as they've gotten their puppy shots, mm-hmm. 7-8 weeks old. Introduction puppy bath and brush, where you trim the nails and introduce them to the clipper, but not necessarily give them a full haircut.
Right.
Okay. Showing them how they're going to be held, trying to acclimate them to that whole process. The more often they come, the better they are going to be about the whole process. Right. So not all groomers believe that they should start that young. Some won't even seek them until they've had their first set of rabies shots. Mm-hmm. And that's like 4 months.
Well, that was one of my questions. Is there things that people can do, even in older dogs, puppies in particular, to get them used to the, or prepare them, I guess, for the grooming? I know part of it is just exposing them to it and bringing them in.
Even if it's a dog that you wouldn't think needs groomed, to have a dog, whether you get it fully groomed, like giving it a full bath and brush, mm-hmm. bringing them in and having their nails trimmed on a regular basis shows them that it's okay. When you wait until their nails are this long and it's painful for them to walk, and they've never had it done, or they're only ever had that veterinary experience or a bad experience because they never get it done, it's going to be hard on them.
Right.
And so I think that the more often they come, and dogs should have their nails trimmed like once a month.
Yeah. Oh, at least. His nails go like crazy. I have a hard time keeping up with them.
Yeah.
No, that reminded me, and kind of leads me into something else I want to talk about a little bit. And we kind of touched on it before we turn the recording on. But I had a client when I was doing nails that the dog was afraid of the Dremel. And so we started out with the clippers, and I said, look, if you bring the dog in every week, I'm not going to take much off, but if you're willing to pay for the nail clipping, I will counter condition this dog so that he's okay with the nail trimming. The dog was doing great, and we were 4 or 5 weeks into it, and they came in one day and picked up the dog's paw, didn't think anything of it because we were doing so well, turned the Dremel on, that dog turned around and almost took my hand off. And I just stood back. I'm like, what the hell happened? And the wife of the couple, she says, oh, well, he was doing so well that we decided to try it at home. And he got really nervous, so my husband held him down, and I did the nails. And I was just dumbstruck that, and I told him it was probably a little too direct, but I told him, I said, look, you've just undone everything we've been working on. We're going to have to start all over again. But that kind of leads us into what we were talking about as far as people trying to do this stuff. They see the groomers and the people that work professionally with dogs doing things. They're like, oh, that's so easy. I can do it at home.
Of course, if you go into a PetSmart and you can see everything that's going on in the grooming shop and it looks easy, that person's either been working with the dog for a while,
right,
or the dog's just that good. And I'm really glad to see that PetSmart has put those bubbles up on the windows so that people can't. It's not a matter of not being able to see the people in the grooming salon. It's dogs see their owners and they start, oh, mom's here. I can stop. It's going to stop. We're going to... Mom.
That just reminded me of, I had this beautiful rough-coated collie in one of my classes. And I just love this dog. 15 years, it's one of like 4 dogs that like really stick out as some of my favorite dogs I've worked with. And so Caspian comes into the shop one day, and this is like 6 months after class, and after they'd been in the class, and I kept looking at this dog, and I'm like, is that dog Caspian? And Rose went through the book and said, yeah, Caspian last name. I was like, yeah. He was in one of my classes. And so I went over, and it got to the point Rose would tell me in the morning, Caspian's coming in today. I need you to hide, because if he sees you, I cannot do anything with him.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm done, I'll let you know, and you can come over and say hi. But I can imagine it's just as bad or worse with owners coming in a little bit early to see how the dog's doing before they pick him up, and the dog can just...
Before we started, we talked a little bit about injuries and stuff like that. And one of the worst injuries that I've ever had happen while I had a dog on the table was I was doing a poodle's clean face. It's where you shave the face. I was getting right up here around the ear, and Mom walked up and tapped on the window, and the dog turned its head, and I cut its ear.
And talking about that, I don't think people realize how sharp some of those instruments are. I mean, the guy would come by in a van every, I think, month or maybe a little bit less to sharpen all those blades. I touched, like I was saying before, I touched one of the mat splitters, just touched it, and it split my finger wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something you want to mess around with or take chances with.
No,
It's
you
like,
should
just
be
stand
fully
back
aware
and-
of what you're doing with how the tools are used. And before the internet, that was not something you had to go to a groomer to find that out, like how to actually, and hope to God they actually knew what they were doing, because even when I first started grooming, it was like, here's a slicker brush, here's a comb. One of the things that this brush looks kind of intimidating, but one of the things that you can run this across your arm and it's going to feel abrasive to you because you don't have a thick coat of fur.
Right.
A double coated dog or a doodle that's like got a long coat, this is going to be like barely touch, it's not even going to touch its skin. This is going to break up the top coat, and you got to really come in with the comb afterwards to make sure you get all the way down to the skin, because that's where all the mats hide.
And we have a slicker brush we use on Malcolm every once in a while, but it's much shorter because it's got that shorter wire coat.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's funny to watch him because you'll go over him a few times. It's one of those things he loves so much he can't stand it. I mean, he just sits there and starts, and then he runs off. He's like, "That's it, I can't take anymore." So it'll take us a good hour or so to get them all brushed out.
Oh, I've had people. Grooming is not easy, and I had a couple who had a giant schnauzer. You know what those are? They're large dogs. They were coming on a regular basis, and then they stopped coming, and I didn't hear from them for a while, and I was like, oh, wonder what happened to them. And if it is, I swear, it is an actual thing that if I start to think about a dog, the person will call me. It's inevitable. These people, they called me one day and they were like, Noni, I was still living in Minnesota. They were like, we need to bring the dog in. And I was like, what happened? And they were like, well, we thought we could do it ourselves, and we let it get really long. And it took us 2 days to groom the dog. How do you do it in just a few hours? And I'm like, practice and the equipment that
Having all the
we have,
equipment,
being able to put them up on a table. And that's something that I tell people with puppies is you have a puppy, whether it's this big or this big, if it's going to get big, you need to get something that it can stand on. Don't try to chase your dog around on the floor. Put it up on a table, put a towel down, put it up on a table, and this is time to work. So then you start back with the back end of the dog and you work your way forward. Most of the time when it comes to brushing, if you're doing a dog that's got a long flowing coat like a doodle, you want to do line brushing. If it's a double coated dog, you might want to also do some line brushing. But some of those dogs, it's not necessary to actually go line brushing the whole dog. Once you've gone through the dog with the slicker brush or whatever type of brush you're using, because there's different types of brushes for different types of coats. Most groomers, their slicker brushes is the tool that they use the most. But
but
put the
like
dog
you're
up on a
saying, you
table.
want to definitely make sure you get the right
Yes,
slicker brush
if it's-
for the dog. Like we had one that
I have one that's like
Duncan hated it.
I have one that's like this big, and I use it on little tiny dogs and little tiny feet. I have a bigger one than this that I use on bigger dogs. I don't do a lot of bigger dogs anymore. I kind of I stopped personally taking dogs that are over 30 pounds. I still have a few that I groom, and I won't stop grooming them as long as they keep making appointments.
Right.
But I'm not taking new clients over 30 pounds because I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't want to kill myself before I get a chance to retire and actually do fun things.
Right.
But yeah.
You get to pet dogs all day. Isn't that fun?
Especially as a puppy, putting the dog up on a table and brushing them on a daily basis, getting them used to it, will help their groomer immensely. Most people, they try to do that, and the dog starts biting them or wiggling too much, and they're just like, I can't. And so, when they're puppies and they're biting their owners, that's always something that is a little bit concerning. But I have a few dogs that, you'll be brushing them or even doing their nails, and they will growl, but they won't bite. They'll growl. You'll hold their paw, and whether you're brushing or doing the nails, hold the paw, and I have this one, she'll growl. And I'm like, oh, hush. And I keep doing it, and she doesn't ever try to bite me. But I feel like I can do that because I've built a relationship with that dog.
Right.
I wouldn't do that with a dog I didn't know. If a dog starts growling at me when I don't know it, I usually go, okay. We're going to try to do something else to redirect them and find a different way to approach that. Whatever it was, whether it was because there was a mat there or whether I'm trying to do the nails. My sister's dog was a really good example of this. She had a Dachshund Yorkie mix. I call them Dorkies.
Okay.
And so it had the hair like a silky terrier, all silky and fine and long.
Right.
But it had a long, short body. When she first got this dog, it was like a fight every time I went to do its nails, and they would let it. Her poor nails would get so long, and I felt so bad for her. But she got to where she actually realized that after she came to see me, her feet felt better. So we would go around, and she'd grumble, and sometimes she would kick. But the last couple times I groomed her, we get around to the front paw, get to that last paw, and she's going like this.
Right.
Because she knows it's going to make her feet feel better.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy. It makes me sad whenever they fight and act like I'm killing them the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm really not, and I never want that. I never want to feel that like that, and yet I don't know. If I could communicate with the dogs better, I would probably have the easiest job in the world. But
Right.
since they don't always understand English.
Yeah. And then like you're saying, with the growling and stuff, if they have a history of that and they know it works, of course they're going to try it on you.
Yeah.
And then as a professional, you have to kind of work past that.
Working with Rose taught me a lot, both when we worked at All Dogs and Cats and when I worked with her at her shop. I was really glad that I had that time with her. When I first started grooming way back when, and I was working at PetSmart up in Minnesota, there was this little dog named Sugar that used to come in, little red poodle or apricot poodle, toy poodle. And this dog would just, Lenny had a picture of Oscar, actually. But this dog took the cake on that, because this dog, when Brandy, my grooming manager, would try to groom this dog, it was scream and act like it was just being beaten mercilessly. Put the dog on my table, and it was okay. And I would groom it just fine. And Brandy was like, some dogs just do better with some people. And so you can't know that unless you've actually worked with the dog. And there are some dogs that I've said, you know what, I think it's better that they go to other someplace else. I'm not, beyond saying that to somebody, because if the dog's going to do better with somebody else, I'd rather them go somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think that's a problem all across the industry, is, grooming, training, whatever. It's like everybody, rephrase that. There are people who think that they have to be all things.
Yes.
for the dogs, and it's like, like I can't remember if we were recording at the time or not. I specialize in puppies and development and stuff like that. And there's some stuff that I just don't have the temperament for, or I just don't have the background for, and I think it shows a lot more credibility if you're willing to say, maybe I'm not the person to do this, but I do know someone who might be.
Yeah.
And getting them in touch. Again, I forget if we were recording or not, but we're looking out for the best interest of the pets and not our own egos.
Yes. Grooming isn't about, well, some grooming is about ego, but that's usually show grooming.
Yeah.
I did do a grooming competition once upon a time, but that was 4 years into grooming, and I did it up in Minnesota. I got a participation trophy, and I learned a lot.
Well,
It was a good thing. I feel like if I learned something, it's a good thing. That was a fascinating thing. But I also learned that I don't really want to show. I don't want to be a part of the competition grooming.
Right.
I'm not a competitive person. I like working with animals. A couple of years ago, I took a course in Reiki, and I'm starting to try to incorporate that into my business.
Okay.
Where and I'm basically right now I'm just kind of activating my hands. Reiki is channeling the energy from ascended masters to help in energy healing of an animal or a human. Most people do it on humans, but I figured if I could do this and make the dogs more comfortable, I feel like it's actually helping some, if I remember, because there's certain things we're supposed to do when you're getting ready to do Reiki. And when I do that, I feel like the dogs respond better to me. So, but I have to be like grounded and centered and all that stuff before I feel like nowadays working from home, I feel like I get a lot more, just a better overall experience with the dogs. So many places, it's just so noisy, and there's so many other dogs, and they feed off of each other, and that can be very nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking for us and for the dogs. Cats are always a thing that a lot of people are like, cats get groomed? Well, yeah, long-haired cats get groomed because they get mats.
Yeah.
Pretty bad, like in their armpits and their private areas. I groomed cats for 10 years, and then the allergy doctors told me that I am so allergic to them that I should not groom them. If I do have to groom them, I should be wearing gloves and a respirator mask and a hazmat suit. And I was like, okay,
It might make it a little difficult.
I love cats.
Yeah. I keep going back to Rose, but a mutual friend.
She groomed cats too, and I learned a lot about that too. From
She had a few rabbits that would come in regularly,
Yes.
also. Which
Yes,
I
and
know
I don't do rabbits.
she would show or had earlier.
Rose has shown just about every animal that there is. Rose has shown just about every animal that there is on. I can't even say 4 legs because she's shown chickens and stuff like that.
Right.
And I know that if it had hair, she's done that, and she's just an amazing person.
It was always fun to see those rabbits coming.
Yeah, I won't groom them.
I can only imagine those back feet.
Well, they can break their own back.
Yeah.
Kicking, and if you don't know how to hold them right, they can break their back, and then they have to be euthanized.
Right.
So I mean, that's just a liability that
Right.
take those to the vet.
So I always like to ask, what's the biggest expectation versus reality with grooming that you had?
Oh,
So
well,
I know
that would actually be, you think that all it is loving all the animals and petting them.
I was about to say, I mentioned that earlier. It was very sarcastic. It's like, when I had the store, people come and say, "Oh, I want to play with dogs all day." And it's like, "Have you seen? I've been cleaning. I'm running around getting tools and stuff for everybody."
If you're not actively working on a dog, you should be cleaning, because
Right.
working with animals is a dirty business.
Oh yeah.
And they featured it on Mike Rowe's Dirty Jobs.
Oh really?
It wasn't me. It was some other group.
Well,
but yeah, because of things like anal glands. And
Yeah.
he went to work in a grooming salon for a day.
I know there was she did it a couple of times. We had a dog that I forget what it's called. It's where you go in and you clean out the undercoat
Fermentator?
Summer blowout. What's that?
Yeah, de-shed or fermentator.
De-shedding. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would do that, and we would have tufts of fur floating around the store for
Snowing.
like 2 days.
It's snowing.
And it's
That used to be one of my favorite things, is to blow out those double-coated dogs.
Oh gosh, it's just.
It's
A lot of, she would always warn me, so I knew it was coming. It's just a lot of extra vacuuming and
Yes.
dusting, and I mean it would be, I had that loft upstairs where I had the office area, and I would find hair up there, and just get airborne and just stay there.
Extra filters on all of for the air conditioning,
Right,
and the furnace, and your computers, and
I wonder if that's some of the keys stopped working. Like my Q, I couldn't get that out. I never even thought about that.
but I do love it. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was working a lot of fast food jobs, and when I happened into that pet food warehouse, I was just like, I can do this for a living? Mm-hmm. Oh, God, sign me up, please. I keep thinking about trying to do other things, and I can't imagine actually doing anything else. Just trying to, make what I do even better. That's what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So I like working from home, and I like working with the animals one-on-one. It gives me a lot more peace of mind. Sometimes I get lonely, but at the same time, I'm like, if somebody's around, I get distracted, and then
Right.
ends up taking me longer. But that is one of the things, though, is when you're working on a dog, it's a living, breathing being. Mm-hmm. It has feelings, and those are all things that we have to take into consideration. Mind you, their coats still have to be maintained. You wouldn't let your child go 6 weeks without brushing their hair.
Right.
I mean, my son is 13, and he gets this knot in the back of his head right here, and I'm like, will you please brush your hair? That's after a day, like, please brush your hair. And he wants it long, and I'm like, you're not going to brush it. You need to cut it.
Yeah. That's what we told both our girls. It's like, you can do whatever you want to with your hair. I was a 1980s punk rocker.
Yeah.
I've seen all kinds. There's nothing that can surprise me. Told them, take it as a kindness if you don't shave a dirty word inside of your head. But as long as you take care of it, you can do whatever you want. And so I don't know if you noticed Moira when she came in. She's got very short hair right now because she has a little bit of a problem. One, it's preference, but two, I think she got tired of us nagging her to, you got to brush your hair, you got to brush your hair, you got to brush your hair.
My hair stays short. Well, sometimes I let it grow, but a lot of times it just stays short like this because it's easier for me to take care of.
Yeah.
I don't go crazy wearing makeup. Actually, I haven't worn makeup in a really long time because when I did wear makeup, I would get hair and stuff in my eyes, and I would end up being like raccoon because of the hair, the makeup being running from me rubbing my eyes from the dog hair.
I was thinking about that when I was putting questions together and stuff. Well, I had a couple of clients not too long ago, private clients, and one of their problems was the dog wouldn't get into the car, didn't like car rides, and so I set them up with a training program. But I told him, I said, no, it's going to take a little bit longer than it would usually because the dog's still got to go to the vet, still got to go here and there, and so you're just going to have to bite the bullet, get the dog in the car, but it's going to take a little bit longer. So, and I kind of see it as the same thing with the grooming. It's like, you want to get the dog used to it, but they still need to have those mats taken out or their hair brushed out or those types of things. So it's tough to work through that sometimes.
People ask me a lot of times whenever dogs have problems or issues about going in the car, whether they get car sick or whatever. It's like, bring them more places. I know it sounds counterproductive, but at the same time, if the anxiety comes from being in the car because they think they're going to go somewhere bad, you've got to give them good places to go to.
Yeah.
And so
that's part of it. If you only put the dog in the car when they're going to the vet, for example, that's they can figure that out. I mean, Puck figured out when the pressure changed, there was probably a thunderstorm coming, which he was terrified of. So
my
reason a dog couldn't figure out.
My clients tell me all the time they get within a block of my house, and the dogs are like, we're going to Noni's.
Right. That just reminded me. I'm glad I wrote it down. So kind of speaking about that kind of thing, I did have a friend of mine sent me a question to ask about. I know how I would do it, and I have done it before, but I wanted to get your professional opinion about doing nails on dogs that are anxious.
When it comes to dogs that are anxious, it's learning the dog and what the way that's going to make them the most comfortable to do it. And I know that sounds weird. I use a Dremel most of the time. Named Oscar that I love this dog. I started grooming him at one place and they followed me, and I still groom a different dog of theirs now. But Oscar was a West Highland white terrier. Okay. And if you pulled out nail clippers, this dog was all teeth. And I mean, he was serious. Yeah. But he didn't care the Dremel at all. You pull the Dremel out, and he'd just stand there and let you do his nails. The only time I ever had a problem with that was when I went to back to work for PetSmart, because PetSmart charges separately for nail trims and nail grinding. Mm-hmm. So, and I was like, I'm not going to charge these people more for nail grinding when it's easier for me.
Right.
I mean, to me, it's the same thing, and at the same time, it's not. I have a really sweet dog that comes to me, had really bad anxiety whenever they first started bringing her. She doesn't like having her nails done, but I realized she doesn't like it when you force her leg back. Okay. Her front leg's back like this. So it's harder for me. Right. But I bring them out and I let her watch me. But she comes every 4 weeks, so her nails don't get super long in between. Yeah. It's a matter of keeping them short. And she is one of the few just bath and brush dogs that I do. Mm-hmm. But they really were worried about bringing her other places because of the level of anxiety she had about the whole process. Most of the time, she puts on a really good act for her dad, that it's awful and she doesn't want to come inside. Right. And as soon as dad leaves, she comes inside. She comes into my house, says hi to my dog, goes into the grooming room, jumps up on my table with this big old smile on her face. Right. And I go over there to the table, because my table goes up and down. Right. You know, when I get over to the table, she will put her head on my chest right here and just let me hug her for like 5 minutes. And it's like, okay, we got to get to work now. And I'll raise the table up, shave her paw pads and do her nails. We still have, some issues with that. But at the same time, she's come a long way. But it is really, I can't really say any one thing that works overall. Mm-hmm. It's really just kind of getting to know the dog, what they're willing to let you do, what they're not willing to let you do, and how you can get around that. And that's just working with dogs. And I don't that makes me feel like I'm missing something. I should be able to explain this better. But that's
fine. I talk a lot about that. It's even on the podcast about, we make generalizations about dogs and breeds, et cetera, et cetera. But dog is an individual, and you kind of have to work with the dog in front of you, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
So no, I get that. It might feel like a cop out, but it totally makes sense.
Oh, I have a Vashon that also was a very anxious dog. I'm not sure what the deal with the other grooming salons were. The dog's not mean at all. He just gets worked up about being in the shop. And I think that with it being just me and this dog, it takes a lot of that anxiety out. And the dog does pretty good for me, whereas it hasn't done so well in other situations. So it's been an amazing journey. That this working from home, I like it. When I don't have a dog, I can actually clean up my house and stuff like that. And I've thought about opening a storefront. And I'm like, what would I do with all of this space? I thought about mobile too, but those things are expensive. I mean, I was looking at a mobile van, and the one that I wanted started at $100,000, and it was diesel. So right now, I'm really glad that I don't have a mobile.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
But there's also people who do what is called a house call grooming, where they come to your house and they've got, I'm going to assume they have some sort of a table that they set up. I'm not sure where they bathe the dogs at, in your own bathtub or something. And I was always kind of weirded out by that because
I would be too.
I don't want to make a mess in somebody else's house.
Right.
One. Two, for me, it's always been my experience that when the owners are there, the dogs act up more. They're too focused on what their owner's doing and too focused on that. Look at me, Mom. Make them stop, Mom. Please make them stop. Oh, gosh, it makes me feel so bad sometimes when I think of that because I'm like, really have no intention of ever hurting a dog. That is
Right. Well, that's like when we first got Malcolm. I told Becca she was just old enough that you're going to take him to pet manners class. And we're out at Cannon Sports Center in the big arena. And I could not be in that big building because Malcolm would just focus on me, and would not do anything for Becca.
that's something that when it comes to people asking about training on dogs, I always tell them everybody has to be consistent. If everybody in the house is not giving the dog the same commands and following the same protocol with the dog, it confuses the dog.
I actually just talked about that a couple of episodes ago. Is like people will come. I'm getting kind of off track when we're talking about grooming, but people come to me and say, "Hey, is it okay if the kids come to class?" And I tell them, "Look, I don't mind if the kids come, but just one kid at a time, because what inevitably happens is you have one kid over here going, sit, and the other one saying, come here, and the other one saying, oh, look what I can show them. The dog's just sitting there like, what the hell do you want from me? And so if they have a parent, like one person in charge, one person that's a trainer. So the parents listening to me, and then they're explaining it to the kid. But we do want the dog to respond to everybody in the home.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with. I don't get into it this far with the clients, but I don't have any problem with the kids coming and working with the dogs. It's
But
I encourage it.
Even for grooming, though, if I were grooming a dog and the whole family was right there, it would. For me, it would feel like almost like these people breathing down my neck about how I'm handling the dog, and then the dog's just absolutely distracted by everything else that's going on.
Right. Yeah. Definitely a different situation. I can appreciate that for sure.
But I tell people put the dog up on a table so that it gets them out of their realm and into that work mode. Because when it comes to brushing a dog, or checking, even to be able to check them to make sure that there's not something wrong with a foot or something like that. If you can get them up on a table, it puts them in a different mindset that they have to work then or have to behave. So, because if they get something stuck in their paw pads, it could, Rose had that happen. Some people were going to have their dog have surgery on its leg because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. Apparently it had a cockabur or something stuck in its paw pad. Rose shaped it out and the dog's fine. But they were going to have surgery on this dog because of it. Because
what kind of
and I was like,
surgery?
Did not they thought there was something wrong with its knee, its ACL or something like that. But she shaved it out and the dog started walking fine. And I was just like, I can't believe the vet didn't check that. That's something that's important, and one of the reasons why, if you cannot groom the dog yourself, especially the dogs that's hair keeps growing, paw pads are one of the few places on a dog where they regulate their temperature.
Right.
So if you do not keep the paw pad in between the toes shaved close, it makes them hotter too. Maybe not shave it as short in the wintertime so that they can stay a little bit warmer, but you want to keep it clear so that they're not slipping and sliding on it. That end, sometimes they can get mats really deep down inside that pad area, and that can be extremely painful.
Yeah. Well, the puck that we were talking about earlier, I mean, that's one thing. Well, I did his nails, and then we would trim his pads because, it would get really thick in there. And sometimes you get stuff caught in there.
Yeah.
And so, we'd sit there and kind of tease it out.
Yeah.
We didn't want to sit there and yank it because he didn't like that. We wanted him to be comfortable with us,
But there's, that's one of those times where if they do have, like, I've seen mats the size of my finger, like in between the paw pads.
Yeah.
Like, and to get underneath it and shave it out, the dog's gonna fight you on it a little bit to begin with. Once they realize that after you do it, it feels better. They're like, oh, I still don't want you to do it, but I'm not going to fight as hard because it doesn't hurt as much. Yeah. They realize that it doesn't hurt once they're done. Mm-hmm. I think that the more they get groomed, the better they are for it. I've had dogs come in as often as every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's breeders are another thing that actually breeders need to not act like they're somehow better than groomers. They need to work with groomers because one of the biggest things with I did watch your podcast about the mixed breeds, but the doodle thing is they're telling people to wait until the dog is over a year old to get a haircut.
Really?
Yes. Because there's something about, they say that it's something about if you cut the hair too soon, it won't grow right. But that's a misconception in itself because every dog goes through a coat change between 6 months and a year. Right. And then they go through another one between 18 months and 2 years.
I wasn't aware of that. I need the puppy coat.
The puppy coat, that first one though, you can have a dog perfectly brushed out and 2 days later it is a solid mat because that coat change happens like that and it just gets away from people. And then they feel like they failed somehow if they've been really diligent, but that puppy coat comes out and sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it.
Well, I've got my Greek class, which puppies, they're 20 weeks old, give or take. But they're right at that stage where they still have the puppy coat. It's going to come out, and it's going to be a totally different ball game.
But if the breeders would tell them, you need to get yourself acquainted with and have your doodle start at a young age, just bringing it in for a bath and brush, get it used to having its nails done, its feet trimmed, its face trimmed. If their face is really big and thick and furry, there's all kinds of stuff that can hide in there. Flavor savers, gels.
I was going to say, particularly puppies.
But
got to check out everything.
If you wait until the dog's a year old, that's like taking a 16-year-old human and throwing them into a full body, I would say, spa day, but if you didn't know what they were doing and they started waxing your legs and doing things to your hair and you had no idea what it was, you'd probably freak out too. And when they're anything over 50 pounds, that's a lot to fight with. And it becomes a fight no matter how gentle you are with the dogs because they don't know what's going on and they're terrified at this point because mom just dropped me off with all these people I don't know and I don't know what's going on and all the other
strange
dogs
sounds and other dogs and
it's a little overwhelming for the dogs and so that is the one thing. If I could get breeders to be more truthful with people about when they need to start, maybe not the haircut process but just grooming in general. Not at home with a groomer. If you want to groom your dog at home, plan on that you're going to be doing it your whole life because I've groomed dogs where people did it for the first few years of the dog's life at home and then work or whatever got away from them and they just couldn't do it, and here they are bringing this dog in that's never been to a professional groomer and they're going up and you're like, okay, I know that I've had other groomers say, you know what, if you're not going to let me do it, then I don't want to do it.
Right.
So, starting them young, even if you're not going to get their hair cut, just and knowing that they're going to go through those coat changes, because when those coat changes happen, if you've got a dog that's got 4 inches of hair on it and all of a sudden it goes through that coat change, people will brush over the top of those mats and not even realize they're there. And then they're like, what do you mean it was matted? I brushed it every day. And you're like, I'm sorry.
Right.
And then you try to work with them or try to make them understand, but they really don't realize how much work it goes into it. I started out charging $40 an hour, but when I went to a show, and I told somebody, one of the other groomers that was there, she was like, honey, you shouldn't be charging less than $80 an hour. And now I'm starting to rethink my prices, but at the same time, I feel like I went from, working these places, and this was the closest I could come to a price that was what I felt like was in line with what the going rates were. I didn't want to overprice myself But now there's other places in town that are way more expensive than I am.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my train of thought, though, was those bigger dogs that do take longer, I'm going to charge more for because they take me that much longer. And if I'm charging by the hour, people can see that.
Right.
It takes me this long. That's why it costs that much. Recently have a little bit of a price increase, but I didn't do it hourly. I just kind of went, I'm going to just raise everybody $5 across the board. Been doing it out of my house since 2021 and hadn't raised my prices.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, everybody's just going up $5. I thought that was fair.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, and you're supposed to raise your prices like every 2 years.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of business podcasts in particular, and everybody talks about how don't short yourself.
We were supposed to
providing the service. I mean, it's. I talk about, I love training dogs, but I also I have a mortgage. My kids like to eat.
Yeah.
They like to wear shoes for some reason. You still have these expenses, and there's a lot of, between the seminars I've been to and the classes I've taken, the books I've read, all those things cost money. And like you were saying, you do a lot of these seminars and stuff like that, and those add up fast.
Oh my gosh. The one that I want to go to they're usually like 3-day, like start on Friday and go Saturday, Sunday. They're somewhere between $500 and $1,000 for the weekend.
Yeah.
And that's not even lodging.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say they transportation and lodging.
Yeah. And it's nice to go to those, and I really like going to them. Some of them are online now, and you can see some of the stuff. But if you're not charging what you're worth, then you can't afford to go to those things.
Mm-hmm. but it's tough. And then there's always that imposter syndrome. It's like,
yes.
I'm good, but am I that good? Can I really?
Well, that's one of the things. I started having some of my clients tell me that I needed to raise prices. I had a dog that was, when Rose moved away, they started coming to me when I started working from home. And one of the dogs was always kind of difficult, and Rose always groomed the dogs.
Right.
But when I started grooming them, I was able to work with it, and I, Rose and I had talked a lot about the ways that she had gone about getting certain things done. And, but he was getting older, and the older they get, the more difficult they can become if they've always been kind of a
cantankerous.
Yes. And I finally told them that I was like, I'm really sorry, but I don't think it's safe for me to groom the dog anymore. So they took it to another groomer who was billing themselves. They were working out of their house. I don't know how many people in town are working out of their house that have a full business license and everything like that.
Right.
Those are things that I think people should check into. I have a business license. I have insurance. I have my LLC and all that. But I'm charging these people $50 for their dog, and this lady charged them $80 for this dog. And she told them that the dog wasn't a problem. And I was just like, okay. But she had one of those harness thingies, like a sling.
Oh,
Put the dog in it, and then you can lift them up so that they don't have any leverage.
Right.
And so I guess that's how she got the nails done, was she put it in the sling. I put an e-collar on it, one of the big...
Right. The Elizabethan...
Yeah.
Cone of shame is called.
Yes. Sometimes, especially with the brachycephalic dogs, those are the better choice because they can't get you, but it's not impeding their ability to breathe.
Right. I had muzzles when I had the store for, when I was doing nails, or, someone's having a problem with bath, but it was brachycephalic. I didn't even think about cones. So that would have been a good alternative for...
Ryan's used to have this whole set of really nice Elizabethan collars in all the different sizes. You could buy the whole set. And when I started the business back in 2014, I did buy the whole set because I had them all at home, and I was letting us use them at the shop occasionally. I have a couple, but I I have the one that I need that is like the right size for smaller dogs. And then I have a couple that are for really big dogs, but I don't even use those. I don't even know where they are right now.
Right.
But it was a great tool for when I was grooming cats. You put a Elizabethan collar on them, they can't bite you. It was how I was taught how to groom cats was put any collar on them and they cannot, for the most part, they can't turn around and get you if you're trying to shave around their back end. With cats, we always started by doing their nails.
Right.
Their nails down. If they will not let you get all of their nails clipped, you're not really going to get the job. It's very rare that you would be able to do anything beyond get the nails done if they're going to become very fractious. When I first started grooming, I had a guy tell me that I did nails on his cat. The cat only had rear nails, and he timed me, and he told me how much I made based on. He was being sweet and he was being nice about it. He was like, honey, I timed you. For the amount of time that it took you to do that, this is how much you make. Blah, 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 if you were, and I was just like, oh, that's really sweet. And at first, I wasn't sure if he was like, you know what, I couldn't do it, so more power to you.
Right. Originally, I have an art background. And that was one of the things we used to always talk about is people say, oh, well, how long did it take you to draw that picture? Oh, it only took you 2 minutes to design that logo. And it's like, no, it took me 15 years of education and working and, all of that kind of stuff. And it's the same with the dogs. It's like, no, it didn't take me 10 minutes to teach a dog to sit. It took me 15 years to teach that dog to sit. Same thing, or do the nails or whatever it happens to be. I like to wrap up. I don't know if you ever watched Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton. Used to be on A&E several years ago, but every episode he would interview actors, but he had 10 questions that he would ask, and it's just short, one word, one sentence answers off the top of your head. So I just thought it'd be fun, so I've obviously geared them towards dogs and not acting. But so the first one is puppy breath or Frito toes?
Frito toes. Puppy breath smells like poop.
Yeah. I think so far most people have leaned towards that. So.
I know what Frito toes is too, but I'd rather have that than puppy breath. I know some people are like puppy breath, and I'm oh.
I don't think it's horrible, but at the same time, I'd rather.
It smells like poop to me. So that's Frito toes is actually yeast, and it's usually a sign that there's a problem. Yeah. Usually not a food allergy, actually, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, so there we go.
Corn. It's an allergy to corn most of the time. Sorry, I'm not a veterinarian and I'm not a scientist, so that's my disclaimer.
Yeah.
I'm just a groomer. Been doing this for 27 years.
Well, I always say it's kind of like being a plumber. If you're a plumber, you know a little bit about cabinetry because you're around it, and you've seen people do it. If you're, when you're building houses and stuff like that. The same thing. I always make it very clear I'm not a vet when people ask me something, but I've been around it long enough. I can at least make an educated guess and know when to recommend you actually go see a vet.
Yes,
so that's okay.
Yeah. When in doubt, have the vet check it out.
Oh yeah. Gosh. So tennis balls or squeaky toys?
Depends on what you want to do. And I have squeaky toys. Or I have tennis balls that squeak. So. Okay. If I'm trying to get a dog's attention, squeak.
Yeah.
If I want to exercise a dog, tennis ball.
I tend to lean towards the tennis balls because that squeaky.
It's irritating.
I've had some dogs where they would get a hold of one and just.
Yes, my dog does that.
And it's like,
my dog does that until she gets to the point where she rips it out, and then I have to take it away from her. Mm-hmm. But if you want to take a picture of a dog, squeak.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to just get a dog that if they love tennis balls, my dog loves tennis balls. But yeah, I actually have tennis balls that squeak.
Yeah. Furniture privileges. Do you allow dogs on the couch, bed?
Yes.
I think most people, at least that I've been talking to, do, and I think I'd have to get a broader
Oh,
range of people as far as.
I know if you value your furniture, you should probably not let your animals on there. But my animals are part of my family, and
Right. Well, like this is all the red furniture in here is antique.
mm-hmm.
So we don't allow the dogs on that. So what's the oddest thing you've had a dog destroy? This always seems to be a
I'm sorry,
stumper. No, that's
what?
okay.
I would say most likely it would probably be some toy that my kids have, but remotes. But shoes.
Well, on the other hand, if it takes you that long to think of something,
Yeah.
you've been pretty fortunate. So.
I probably have been.
Yeah, we've had shoes, books. Talbot used to tear up magazines in the mail. My brother had a dog when we were sharing a place. The mail would come through the mail slot. He would grab it before it was even all the way through and just shake it, throw it across the foyer. So it's
Your dog ate my homework.
right. But if nothing like instantly comes to mind, like I said, I think you've been pretty fortunate because I've had a few that were.
Well, the first dog that I ever actually had that was my dog,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't really chew on anything. I mean, he chewed on, it was a Sheltie mix, and he chewed on a couple shoes when he was a real little puppy. But as he got older, he wouldn't even chew on bones. So, my dog Periwinkle, she had Foxy, this little toy stuffed fox that has Squeaky in it. And it was her favorite toy. But the first thing she would do every time she got one was take its tail off. And she's an Australian Shepherd, so she's got a. I don't know if her tail was actually docked or if it. Yeah, she ripped the tails off of those Foxies every time she got a new one.
Right.
First thing she did was take off its tail.
So who in the field do you geek out over?
Scott Wasserman. The industry considers him one of the foremost authorities on terrier breeds.
Okay.
And I once went to Indiana to have him show me how to hand strip dogs, which is, a dying art. Not very many people know how to do that anymore, but I geek out over him. He's just somebody I look up to. He's gay. I'm not, but it's not a thing like that. It's just he's the person I looked up to more than anybody else because he does with terriers what other people do with poodles, and I think it's just fascinating. And terriers I love herding breeds. They're my breed. I love anything that's a herding dog, but I love terriers too. I love their personalities, their little Mr. Attitude.
Right.
Scott Wasserman was somebody that when I first started grooming, I got to go to a show and I got to see him do several different types of dogs. I'm a visual learner, so if I can watch somebody do it, I can do it. So watching him do those things was definitely, I got to meet him a few times. Really cool guy.
Nice.
And I groomed a dog that he actually showed and finished here in Columbia.
Oh.
I did, and he posted on Facebook. He's like, "Who in Columbia knows how to groom a Kerry Blue?" And I was like, "I do." And he was like, "How'd you learn?" And I was like, "You." He said that somebody was moving to the area that had a Kerry Blue, and so they've been bringing their dog to me ever since.
Nice. Let's see. If you could speak dog for 5 minutes, what is the first thing you would ask?
I would want to know from the dog if there was a way that we could do it that would make it more comfortable for them.
Okay.
I want to learn how to talk to animals. But yeah, I would want to know how I could make them feel more comfortable, or just to make them understand that my intention is not to hurt them.
Yeah.
Because until they get to really know you, and then it's still sometimes it's, I know you, Noni, but I still don't like you doing this. And if I could make them understand that it's not my intention to hurt them, that it's just something that we have to do for their health, that would be the greatest thing. If I could communicate that to a dog, I think my job would be pretty easy.
Yeah. Let's see. If your business had to, excuse me, let's try that again. If your business had a theme song, what would it be?
I don't know. Elvis comes to mind, but I don't really do that many hound dogs, so I'm really sorry. I can't think of one.
That's okay.
Mr. Blue Sky.
Oh, that's a good song.
Yes, I use a lot of Reiki music.
Okay.
But that song always just puts me in a good mood.
Yeah. I remember
So-
when that album came out.
I've actually heard more of the version that Weezer did than I have the original.
What is a food you think dogs would tell us we as humans ruin?
Food. Just give me what you're making, man.
Fair
I
to
want that. I don't want this kibble. This is gross.
No. Just leave it raw. You don't have
Yes.
to.
I agree. I think they would be just like, yeah, just give me what you're cooking, or just give me the real food, not this.
And the last one, what is there a phrase, mantra, something like that you kind of carry with you?
Well, I made it my motto, if you will,
Yeah.
for my business is these custom cuts is your standard or the breed standard, meaning that I will do your dog the way you want it done, or I can do it to the breed standard. I can do anything in between, or
Yeah.
So your standard or the breed standard.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, coming on the podcast. And, do you want to give any contact information or anything like that? Or I know you said you aren't taking clients right now, but
I'm not really taking new clients right now. I'm struggling to get the people that are rebooking in the time frame that needs to be done. So right now I'm not really taking new clients, but you can call me or text me at 573-999-6226.
okay.
You can also contact me on Facebook Messenger, but you cannot set up an appointment from there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.